I've talked with a lot of the different tech guys here about the predictability and the drivability of the power and how you can take like a single or a twin turbo setup and put it on a stock vehicle. Why is it that you can do that whereas other competitors have to go and make modifications or beef up engine or transmission parts?
The one thing that's really our advantage compared to a supercharger is turbos are the most component-friendly power adder on the face of the earth. Just the way they are designed, the way they work, and a lot of it just is kind of by happenstance, is they're just very user-friendly on parts. The power ramps in, and so when that thing that we call turbo lag is sometimes it's just a fraction of a second to go from no boost to full boost. It can be 100 RPM on the tap, but it's just enough to where you don't get that snap, and that's what breaks parts. It's not putting a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque through it. It's how that's applied. So I think you can think of it as, you can take a stock car out there, put the thing up on the rev limiter, dump the clutch, and you can break an axle or an input shaft or a drive line or whatever. It doesn't take a lot of horsepower to break stuff. It just takes that snap. You can take a pop bottle and grab that thing, start twisting it, and you're not going to do anything to it, but tip it off the table and it shatters all over the ground. So turbos, the way the power comes in, I've seen guys run 9-second quarter miles with stock rear ends. You take a nitrous car, good luck with that one.
Yeah, stuff starts coming apart.
Yeah, it's just they're a lot easier to break parts when you don't have that little bit of that cushion, the boost coming in, the power coming on. So that's drivetrain stuff. As far as engine, we've got a nice advantage there over most of the power adders. A couple of things on that is typically when you're going to chuck a rod, it's not because you pushed it down out of the bottom, and bent it by pushing it. It's because you pulled the top of it off. And so that's why high RPMs usually tear apart motors. And consequently, most of your centrifugal superchargers got to run high RPMs because that's where all the power is at. So there's twofold there. The supercharger, as soon as the exhaust valve opens up, the air goes out. And there's really nothing supporting the top of that piston. You get a turbocharger, the higher the RPM, the more exhaust back pressure you have in there. So there's always something trying to keep that piston on the end of the rod and keep it from separating. So you can make a lot more horsepower on a stock turbo motor than you can on a centrifugal supercharged motor, typically, without throwing the rods out of the thing. So that's one. The other is, obviously, you take a supercharger, where are they getting the horsepower to run the compressor that's coming off of the crank? So, and it depends upon how much boost you're running. You can see 50 maybe on a really light application, but you could see a couple hundred on a race application. So, you take an extra 50 to 100 horsepower, that's a cushion that we have that's a safety cushion. They're having to make that extra horsepower. The rods are making it, the pistons are making it, the head gaskets, everything is holding 50 to 100 more horsepower. And your fuel system, everything, a lot of times, we can run a smaller fuel injector, so you get a little better mileage because your atomization is better. But there's just a lot of things that go together. That's why turbos are so cool.
So I just went for a ride in one of your twin turbo Corvettes. It's a 2002 Z06 with a twin turbo setup on it, and running a stock motor, stock everything other than the twin turbo setup, and the power was incredible. I mean, that thing just really got up and went. Now you have different options. That's the base kit. You have tuning and different turbo options. What are some of the different options? I mean, how extreme can we get?
Well, that's our nice thing about the turbos is the turbos in our base kit on the Corvette kit are good for 750 horsepower. So it's not like you've got to put new turbos on if you want to turn the boost up. So you can have a great time with the thing at 5, 6, 7 pounds of boost. And down the road, you said, what? I want to build the motor. I'm going to build a 402 or whatever you want to build. and put rods and pistons and everything in and turn the boost up. You know, the stock turbos will support 12 to 15 pounds of boost, which is a lot of horsepower on those cars.
Yeah.
You can put, I've seen our stock kits go 700 at the tires without any problem at all, just on the base kit. For the guys that want more, obviously there's all kinds of turbo upgrades. And sometimes all you gotta do is change compressor, and the rest of it is okay. But we can support upgrades up to thousands of horsepower if that's what you want. But as far as the base kit on the Corvettes, everything on there will support a whole lot of horsepower. So if some guy wants to say, well, okay, well, I want more than 750, I'm going to build a big, bad, nasty motor, and I want 1,000 at the tires. Well, all you got to do is upgrade the turbos, the piping, the intercooler, all that stuff. You know, we've seen well over 1,000 at the tires on just our base kit, you know, with just upgraded turbos.